All right, so welcome to the FFL Solidity team call. Today is Thursday, July 14th, 2022. We are going into week 3 of week 4 of July. So we're going into the third week of July. If you guys are on here each and every week, you know that each and every week I always like to let everybody know that, just so we can make sure that our goals are where we're at and we need to tweak and adjust and we go ahead accordingly. However, today I'm going to have 3 very special guests on with me, and we're really going to talk about essentially we had the chance to go to California and spend some time with, you know, Landon, Rami, Heather, her children, Melissa, and quite a few others. And it was truly just a blessing because not only did we get to learn from one another, but we got to learn from a lot of different people there as well. So today I'm going to take the time really just to kind of go through with Rami, Landon, and Heather, kind of what they learned, what they took away, what they're going to implement, and you know, something that they feel like, you know, you might be able to implement today as well. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and start with Rami. So Rami, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great, doing great. So Rami, being at that event, and you can kind of, you know, elaborate as much as you want on this, but kind of what were your three biggest takeaways from the meeting or meetings that we were able to attend out there in California?
So for me personally, I'm going to phrase it a little differently. So instead of having 3 main ones, it was mainly, in my mind, just making sure to understand, just keep the foundation simple, just always making the small things, habitual habits, waking up early, getting on a dial team, buying leads, just really maintain that simple structure from day one, because that's what got me to where I am today. As long as I just remember is to keep that same structure and just keep on pushing, I'm going to continue to get better and continue to go where I need to be. So that's really what I want to focus on. And I would definitely took away that everyone there, all the top producers, whether it be Zoom, telesales, in-home, they all have the same habits. They all read, they all have the same structure in a way. And that's like the main 3 things I truly took away from it, is just having that key foundation. Because we all know if you build a home with no foundation, doesn't matter how nice it looks, doesn't matter how much you put into it, doesn't matter how many leads you buy, at the end of the day, the house will fall. I can buy $5,000 worth of leads, but if I don't maintain that same structure and dial my leads, sit there religiously, get my 15 appointments, it does not really matter. So to me, it was mainly just doing the small things, adapting, and just evolving and modifying, just keeping the habits habitual, just maintaining good habits.
Absolutely, and it sounds so simple, but it's like those are the things that definitely make or break you in this business, and it can make it a lot harder, you know, just waking up an hour later versus an hour earlier. So small things like that, like structure, keeping it simple, going back to the basics. So I'm happy that you brought that stuff up. And then what's one thing that you're going to implement immediately, or that maybe you already went ahead and implemented?
So I'm going to try to implement a hybrid approach in telesales. I'm going to try to do one-call closes. I'm going to pursue more telesale approach. That's one thing I'm going to implement right away that I'm trying to do.
All right, awesome. And then why is that, you think?
I just want to stay adaptable. I just want to, just keep evolving with the times. Like, as we all know, if I'm going to bring on more and more agents, and if I need to be able to know how to do telesales, I need to know how to be able to teach my agents properly, and not just know how to direct them to the right source or the right person, but I want to be that person. I want to be that resource for my agents. I want them to be able to come to me and say, hey, Rami, I'm struggling on the phones. What do you say? So the only way for me to really know how to do that is by getting in the mud and actually going through it and doing telesales personally. So that's why.
Awesome, love it. And then last question for you is going to be something that you feel others on the call will be able to take away or implement immediately today.
Yeah, so it's going to tie to that second question. I recommend everybody on this call, because we all have leads, guys, that are just sitting there, that we don't touch, either on phone burner, then the CRM. They're sitting there. We're not dialing them. They're literally just sitting, adding and adding. Go through them and dial them. Literally go through all of your older leads, try to one-call close, book them, set them. You will get a higher ROI. You're going to help families, because those leads are still a lead. They're still families. Just because you've gotten more and you forgot about them doesn't mean that they haven't been helped. The same thing is going on. They're being forgotten. Think if that's your family. Do you want your family leads to sit there and be forgotten about and not be talked to ever since? 2 or 3 years go by, then all of a sudden the predicament changes. And then it can actually help boost your business too. Even now, I'm going through older leads, guys. And I literally this morning had a really tough time dialing, but then I went through older leads, literally 4 or 5 month old leads, 6 month old leads, and ended up booking a full schedule now. Now I have my whole schedule booked. And that's just by going back to older leads. And I'm going back personally to do telesales as well. So I recommend going back into your older lead source and just utilize it. Remember, guys, they're still there and you spent money on them and you can still, kind of milk it per se for lack of layman terms. So I definitely would utilize older leads today. Everyone on this call, go on your CRM, go onto the ILC phone burner, go to the oldest lead you can find and start dialing them. Who cares how old it is? Remove the date, just dial. Go through your script, do it. I promise you it's going to work out. It did for me, so it's going to work for you.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, Rami. And I love that you hit on kind of like the older leads, because sometimes when we get those newer ones, we forget about the ones that we already had and haven't yet resolved. So I appreciate that. And anything else that you'd like to share, just kind of from your experience over the past couple of days?
Yeah, just everyone just keep working hard. Just keep the grind. Remember, guys, things will always be delayed in this business. There's always gonna be times where you feel like you're putting a lot of work into it and you're not seeing the same reward, the same result, but it's okay. It's delayed gratification for a reason. It's gonna feel like it's uphill at times, but just remember just to keep a strong mindset, a good mental fortitude, just keep pushing through. Do your day-to-day tasks the same. If it's not working out, do a small tweak. Just keep tweaking and adjusting until you find that rhythm and just keep going. And that's the main thing I took away from like the meeting basically, is to adapt that to my own lifestyle.
Awesome. Love it. Well, Rami, thank you so much for being willing to share. I truly appreciate it. And now, Heather, I hope I do not butcher your name, so I'm going to try to, and then I'm going to try to say it right. And then if I don't, you please correct me. So next up, we have Ms. Heather Coletti
Robeson, but that's okay. Everybody does it. Don't worry.
Robeson. Okay. That's going to be the last time I say it wrong. How are you doing, Heather?
I'm good. How are you? Recovered, definitely.
I hear you. Well, it's good to see you again. But it was amazing seeing you, this past week and kind of being able to spend some time with you and your family as well, which is honestly amazing. But same question here to kind of kick it off with you, Heather. What were your 3 biggest takeaways from the meeting?
Yeah, and actually I appreciate them. Our company we're so lucky. We're so fortunate. Our company is family first. And my kids, I don't know if you all know this, but my kids are 13-year-old twins and they're homeschooled. So I make them part of my business and they do stuff for me, such as, and I pay them a certain percentage of my IP. And again, they're 13, but some of them, one of them does, admin stuff for me, checks on leads. If the number's wrong, they research it. I don't have time for stuff like that. And it's helped me. As a matter of fact, I have an appointment with one of Nathan's leads that he checked on today. So he'll get 5% if I sell it. So that's pretty cool for him. And then Camden does a lot of my financial stuff. So our company is it's an outstanding thing that we get to do this. And it's Absolutely. So adaptable, I've had a rough start, and our company has allowed me to not lose my job, to feed my kids, my family, and it's such a blessing. So the takeaways that I got beyond that are setting that schedule is important. Now, I've had a schedule set and I change it and I adapt it to my kids' schedule. But when you get thrown off of your schedule for whatever reason, get back on it. Stick to it. Don't say you failed. You didn't. It's life. Life throws us these things. If you're consistent, if you stick to your schedule, get back to it as soon as you can, you will succeed. Our business is like a snowball. You have this little ball at first, and if you throw it and it hits somebody, it's not going to hurt them or affect them. The word is affect them. If you keep working that snowball, it's going to get bigger and bigger and you will see results. So if you stick to your schedule, that snowball will get bigger and you'll start seeing the results. And if it stops growing for a little bit, it's not going to really go back at all. It's not going to melt. It's going to go forward the more you roll it. That's what I feel like about this company. The other thing I took out of the meetings was.
And Heather, if you don't mind if I just interrupt you real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Because that was great. First of all, having the twins there and the boys there, it was amazing. And just kind of you being able to delegate things to them, I think is a beautiful thing. And I'm like, wow, they're 13. I'm like, I hope that, if I ever have a 13-year-old there, that developed. So they're amazing. And I love that, you're able to make them a part of your business.
Thank you.
But you mentioned schedule and kind of that snowball effect that life happens and as long as you're not making an excuse for yourself
Right.
each and every week, each and every day, it's going to be okay, right? And we talked a little bit about kind of that snowball, right? And I remember you used that analogy, and I was like, that's exactly what it is. You're like,
Yeah.
first, like, I feel like I'm building the snowman right now. And I was like, you definitely are. And then, you rolled with the analogy. And I think that that's a beautiful thing, because when you follow your schedule, you might feel like a week hurts, 2 weeks hurt, sometimes even a month hurts. But if you stay consistent with it, like you said, you're going to have that snowball there that's going to be a lot bigger, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Bigger impact. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Good.
Thanks. And what would be next for you, Heather?
The other thing is all of the people that I've met along the way, the top selling agents, the ones that I venture to be like, all have key habits, right? And they always talk about them. We hear them, we've heard them over and over again, but it's so true. If you're consistent, if you have that consistent more day, week, and their biggest thing is their morning routines, you're going to be successful. So that being said, what's your routine? No, you have to adapt it to you. I adapt my morning to me, and I know you guys are early risers and you wake up and go to the gym. Good for you. I have to go at 9 in the morning. I can't get to the gym at 0400. That would kill me. But as long as you're consistent with that morning schedule, you are going to be successful. So, that's another takeaway that I had.
Absolutely. I love that. And the morning routine, it's funny because everything that everyone said so far, it really comes back to your schedule, right? And like your schedule almost dictates what you are going to do and what you aren't going to do, which sounds so like literal, but also sounds so silly. But it's like at the same time, like you said, if we don't incorporate both personal and business, it's going to clash and it's not going to look pretty. So I love that.
The other thing that I learned, the last thing, not the last thing, but one of the other things that I learned is, I don't remember who said it, and somebody might, I'm just not good at stuff like that, but somebody said, oh no, it was Paul, plan like you are your own employer, because you actually are. You're your own employer, and if you had a bad day, how would you rate yourself? At the end of the week, would you fire yourself, or would you give yourself a pay raise? So if you plan, employers will plan out their employees' week. You have to plan, again, scheduling, what you're going to do, what you want to, set your goals. This morning I do that every week, set my goals for the week. Sometimes I hit them, sometimes I don't. So that was the other takeaway that I had.
I love that. And that's huge. I ask myself that like each and every day for probably the past, 4 or 5 years is, if you were your employer, would you fire yourself? And sometimes the answer is yeah, I would. But that doesn't mean I have to beat myself up. It just means I have to recognize it, acknowledge it and change and move on, right? So I love that. And I think if we can all ask ourselves that at the end of the day, whether that be if everybody performed like I did today, what would the group look like? Is that going to, and like that's sometimes an even scarier question, right, Heather?
Yes,
However, it gets back to that point of, if you can be self-employed or you can be unemployed, right? But you have to pick one. So I love that, Heather. And then what did you implement immediately, or what are you probably going to be implementing immediately after, leaving that meeting?
Well, I drove back from California to El Paso on Tuesday with my boys. Well, Monday night and Tuesday. And then yesterday, I tried to get myself straight. And I said, you know what, Heather, you just drove a long time. So Thursday's your first dial day of the week. Go for it. So I got myself back on schedule. I got up this morning, got, my dials all done last night, ready to be done. Did exactly what Rami said, got my old leads out, because it's the middle of the month. I don't feel like buying new leads yet. I have a ton of leads that I still need to exhaust, right? So got everything together and got back on that schedule. Today, I haven't missed a beat. Stopped for lunch, stopped to do whatever I needed to do, because when life gives you that, I had a death in the family last week. I had the trip to California. When life gives you that, you have to get back. And that's what I implemented today.
Absolutely, and that's huge, Heather. And thank you for being willing to share that on the call, because it's like you could be a victim mindset, right? Or you could work from a strength and growing mindset. And I respect the heck out of you for just the way that you work always towards a growth mindset and not a victim mindset. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that you've already implemented that morning routine, that schedule, that stick to it. And once you can do that for a little while, you can do it forever, right, Heather? So
Yes, even when your dog wakes you up at midnight, 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
even when your dog wakes you up, whenever your dog feels like it, right? So I love that. And then what's something that you feel could, positively impact anybody on the call right now that they could maybe go ahead and implement right away?
One thing that I think not only can they implement, but they have to realize is that every single person in this business, everyone I've met, and I've met people who are high up in the company, and I've talked to them, not a single one of them will not talk to you. They are all willing to share, to help, to give you whatever you need. Paul has a calendar that you can spend 15 minutes to 30 minutes talking with him and getting ideas from him. Christina, Marisa, Sean, everyone, oh my gosh, everyone that you think is, or I would be starstruck by, they're all normal people who are willing to listen to you, to talk to you, and who actually want you to succeed. Not just for their own good, because that's not what our company's about. If they want you to be successful so that you can get out of debt, so that you can pay your bills, so that you can have the opportunities that our company is blessed to have.
I love that. And I think that that's huge, Heather, because if you're on this call and you came maybe from just honestly any other background, whether it was the insurance industry or with any other industry, sometimes it's scary, like, hey, I'm not sure if I should talk to that person. I'm not sure if I can talk to that person, or if I should, or if I shouldn't reach out. The answer 90% of the time, or 99% of the time, is reach out. As long as you're going to go ahead and take some advice and you're willing to implement and get some feedback, that's what it's all about. And it's a beautiful thing that we're able to do that, because at other companies and other places, no matter where you are or what you're doing for work, things can tend to be a secret, or people are too good to talk to you, or whatever it might be. And just like you said, Heather, that is not the case here. Like, we want to talk to you. If you want to be doing better, or you have different goals, or you have questions, we want to talk to you. So definitely reach out and reach up. So I love that you shared that, Heather. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
And
for
then,
the opportunity.
Absolutely. And anything else you'd like to share?
We just have to rock it. Everybody, we just have to keep working, work hard. That's what this is. There's no free
Absolutely.
rides. It's working hard.
Amen. And you've been making strides on the up and up. So I'm super proud of you. And again, Heather, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate you. All right. And Landon, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. So it was awesome to see you and some of the family as well this week. But just to kind of jump right into it, Landon, because I'm really excited for you. I think that, you're the kind of person who just kind of leans in, listens, absorbs, and tries to take away. So what were your three biggest takeaways, from the meeting or meetings, so to say, this week?
Yeah, most definitely. And there was actually quite a few takeaways, but there's some that really stuck out a little bit more than others. The first thing that really stuck out to me was just increasing my awareness on what I allow into my life, as far as throughout my daily routines, as far as what I allow to come to my life, as far as what I listen to, what I watch, how much time I spend, on social media, or how much time I spend listening to podcasts, or just kind of being more aware of what I allow into my life. Something that I struggle with is just dealing with daily negative self-talk and feeling like I'm not worthy enough. And I think a lot of that has to do with comparing myself to others. And that goes back to what I allow into my life, right? If I'm always comparing myself to other people, if I'm always, just kind of focusing on what other people are doing instead of what I'm doing, it's definitely something that I think that I could work on, as far as just being more aware of what I allow into my life. Another thing that I took away as well is just how important the daily rituals and routines and schedule is. Just be more intentional with my time. Every single day we have 24 hours in a day, and as long as we're just more intentional than the day before, we'll be able to get 1% better every day. Another thing that that was a big takeaway for me was increasing my self-esteem from executing small daily wins. Instead of focusing really just like on the end result, like focus on, waking up at 5 a.m. Then after I wake up, making my bed. After I make my bed, get in the shower, go to the gym, making sure that I could get all my little small daily wins out of the way and getting my self-esteem from those instead of like focusing on like the end result. So those are my 3 biggest takeaways. And there's obviously a lot more. And I wish that all you guys could have gone to the meeting because there was just so much value and it was so awesome being able to connect with everybody. But those were the main things for me.
Awesome. I love that. I mean, I think that the awareness, intentionality, those are huge. And it's like that was consistent within the 3 of you and definitely within me too. It's like awareness can always be increased. Intentionality, it can always be increased or better looked at, right? Of where we can be intentional. And I love, Landon, how you're like, I don't have to get 50% better in an hour, but I can get 1% better or each day, each and every day. As long as I'm getting better, then I'm going up. And if not, I'm not going to, beat myself up. And then the increasing self-esteem with small wins. I think that that's huge. And I'm going to repeat that again. Landon said, increasing self-esteem with small wins. A small win is waking up at the time you said you were going to, right, Landon, or going to the gym or
Absolutely.
whatever is on your schedule that you said you were going to do, just doing it, right? And it's so much easier said than done at times, especially in this business where there is so much freedom. But at the end of the day, it's like you're going to feel best about yourself when you wake up and you at 5 o'clock when you said you were, and you go to the gym or you get ready and you just hop on and you do live transfers because you're on Pacific time. Whatever it might be, if you do what you say you're going to do, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. And before you know it, your self-esteem goes up by default. So I think that that's huge. So thank you for sharing those, Landon. And what's something that you're going to go ahead and implement, immediately or that you maybe already implemented?
Yeah, so something that I implemented right when I got back home is the big thing is we need to understand why we're doing this, because a lot of times we'll have difficult days, sometimes we'll have bad days, sometimes we'll have great days. But I think always just having our why written out in front of us. I always knew why I was doing it, but I never had it like right in front of me. So what I did is when I came home, I rewrote all my whys, my bag of reasons of why I'm actually doing this. And so when I'm going through my dial day and I dialed 100 numbers and I only got one person to answer, and I'm like, screw it, like I just want to go take a break. I want to get up and, just kind of take some time away. I could look right next to me and have my reasons of why I'm doing this. And it will remind me of, no, this is just how it is. And we're all going to have bad days. But if you're consistent, you may have a couple bad days in a row, but at the end of the day, you'll have a great week if you're just consistent. So just having my bag of reasons and my whys right in front of me and having them very clear. Like I put up some pictures, and on my background on my computer, I put up some pictures of just to remind me of why I'm really doing this.
I love that. And that's a really big thing. It's like we all can come into this industry for different reasons. Sometimes they're monetary, and your why is going to kind of adjust as you grow within this business. And I think that's the beauty of it, is that sometimes it will get bigger in terms of family. Sometimes it will get bigger in terms of, personal goals, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, if you don't have that in front of you, it's going to be really hard in the days that it feels really hard to pick that phone up, or that the phone feels really heavy, so to say, right? So when you have that in front of you, like you said, the background of your computer, on your wall, like you have to look at it, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the psychology behind it, right? So I love that, Landon, and I'm happy that you already came home and implemented that. Yeah. And last question for you would be something that you think anybody on this call could, take away from the meeting, or anything that you've really kind of learned over the past, few days.
Yeah, most definitely. I think just getting to, whenever there's a meeting within driving distance, get to it. If there's an office within a couple hours, get to the office on dial days. That's something that I haven't done and something that I'm going to start implementing immediately. Hopping on the team calls, there's so many more people on our team that are sometimes not on the call, but just trying to get on every team call, hopping on the dial teams, and just plugging in a little bit more. I think that would definitely help. I know that in the beginning, for the first few months, I was never on the team calls. I was not plugging in. I wasn't talking to you guys. And that really hindered my business in the beginning. And I think that since I've been plugging in more, trying to hop on every single dial team and plugging into every meeting that we have, it's definitely helped out my business. I think if we could just be more consistent with plugging in and even maybe reaching out to each other and just having conversations, if anybody's struggling on the team, we're all together on the same team. And so if anybody ever wants to talk or reach out or, just, chop it up, reach out to me, and vice versa. I think that's something that could really help everybody out, is just kind of just be more connected.
Absolutely. And Landon, if you don't mind me asking you, in terms of so you're always on the team call now. And I love how you mentioned hey, I wasn't always doing all of this, but now I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
And same thing, with a lot of you guys that are on the dial team, that you guys are actually actively dialing. Do you feel like, Landon, that's held you more accountable or helped you kind of get to know people better, or just overall helped you within your business just by being accountable that, hey, this is my dial slot?
Yeah, absolutely. Most definitely. I think that if I didn't hop on the dial team, if I didn't have my camera on, I not saying that I wouldn't be dialing, but I think that it just holds you a little bit more accountable, knowing that you have your camera on, knowing that people could watch you, and just getting connected with other people on the team has really helped me. When we're working from home, which I think a lot of us are, I think some of us plug into offices, but when you're working at home, sometimes it could feel lonely. Kind of feels like you're on an island by yourself. But when you're plugging into the team calls and you're plugging into the dial team, it's helped me a lot, just making me feel like I'm not the only one doing this and I'm not the only one that's going through these things. So I think definitely plugging in will help for sure.
Absolutely. And thanks for sharing that, Landon. And, anything else really that you want to touch on or share, or does that pretty much cover it? Because I feel like you hit on the meetings as well. Hey, if there's a meeting around you, get there. And that's important too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to wrap it up, I would say just continue to focus on attitude and activity, right? As long as we can maintain a positive attitude and just maintain our activity, I think that there's no way to fail in this. You just got to just stay focused and just do what you need to do.
Love that. So thank you so much for sharing, Landon. I truly appreciate it. And it was great seeing you, as well as you, Melissa, and many of you others. So I appreciate you all. But really, just to kind of wrap the call up, one thing that, Landon brought up and, Heather was nodding her head, and is the dial team, guys. So what I do want to kind of just quickly hit on, most of you on here know it's from 8 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern. There is a different, it's not like, so essentially there's a couple of different avenues now on the dial team, so to say. So we typically have, Rami and myself dialing in for in-home. We typically have Valerie, and me and Rami are dialing on CRM, mailers, things like that. And then after that, we have Valerie dialing, and Valerie predominantly dials internet leads. So you have also that kind of gist of a different lead type and somebody else to hear from. And then you have Landon, who's doing, telesales and almost a hybrid type of model. And then you have Heather, who's doing telesales, and you have Josh Mwanza, who's doing in-home. So it's like, if you're doing telesales, it's not like, do you need to hop on ours? No, hop on the one that's going to be most effective for you. But at the same time, hop on one and stay on one, right? Because it's going to hold you accountable. Or hop on a couple of different ones, whatever you got to do. But we are trying to be more diverse with the actual dial team in its own. So if there's anything that we can do in regards to that, we're always open to feedback. But like Landon was saying, the dial team, what I will openly say, being able to look at the numbers on the back end, is people who are on the dial team, outside of outside of 2 people, are all in the top 12 of the team. So it's like, if you want to be in the top tier, so to say, or you want to just do a little bit better than you did last week, hop on the dial team, start holding yourself accountable. It doesn't mean that you need to unmute and you have to dial live. That's not what we're asking you to do. We're just saying, hey, tune in, especially if you have to get your mind right or you're not hitting the goals that you want. That way you're able to listen to other people. It's not just the same person all the time. And you can get real-time feedback. You can be like, hey, Landon, I heard that you just got this objection. Like, what do you usually say? And he'll be like, hey, I usually say this. And same thing, with Heather's doing live transfers. Hey, okay, you know, what are you using for live? Like, that's how you get true hands-on feedback, right? Is when it's happening. So there's no better place to be when you're dialing than on a dial team, especially a dial team where they're willing to give you feedback and open to helping you. So I hope that that all makes sense.